Former Vice President Mike Pence will not face criminal charges following an investigation into the potential mishandling of classified information. Back in January, about a dozen documents with classified markings were found at Pence's home in Indiana.
All right.
CBS News political director Fin Gómez is here in our D.C. studio. So let's start with, good to see you. Let's start with Pence. Why did the Justice Department investigation into his mishandling of classified information close so quickly?
Because, after essentially 5 months of investigating into this matter, they did not find any potential mishandling of these classified documents, which is in stark contrast, at least at this point, to some of the other ongoing investigations, including his former ticket mate, former President Donald Trump. Right. So I think, the charges have been dropped and it comes at a politically opportune time.
I was just going to say to you, the timing is extremely helpful for Pence. He's going to announce his seeking the nomination next week, right? So helpful
next
politically.
Wednesday in Iowa, he is set to announce his 2024 race. I spoke to an advisor close to Mike Pence, to the former vice president, who says they are pleased but not surprised over the outcome by the DOJ. And just politically, they have to be pleased. I mean, this comes at a time. This clears this investigation for them as they jump into the race, and it also contrasts him again with former President Donald Trump, who still has these looming investigations over him. So when he tries to make a case for his candidacy, he has now a clear lane, if you will.
So former President Trump, as you mentioned, is facing several investigations, as well as this classified documents investigation, which really is shaping up to be more of an obstruction case if charges are brought. So what's the impact on the former president with his polling?
There seems to be not much impact at all at this point, Catherine. I mean, not in national polling, nor in the early state polling. He still has a wide lead.
What are we talking about, like 20, 30 points generally?
20 to 30 points on a national level in some of these early states to his closest competitor, who's Ron DeSantis. So as of now, he continues to be the clear front runner. Mike Pence is still netting about single digits in early state and in national polling. However, they think they can make a real case in Iowa, especially because there's a strong evangelical vote that are big caucus goers for Republicans.
Right. Okay, so there are 9 Republicans who've said they're going to seek the nomination. By the end of next week, we're looking at 11. Former President Trump.
And more potentially to come.
And even more to come. Former President Trump has said that this is good to have a lot of people in the race. Is he adopting this, divide and conquer strategy?
Yeah, I mean, Catherine, it reminds me a lot, frankly, at this pace anyway, of the 2016 race, where essentially the base was fractured. You have that 30% base that was firmly for Donald Trump, and the rest was essentially fractured by all these other competitors. You're seeing a very similar pattern, at least this point in June of 2023.
So do you think we're going to see more of an argument from Republicans, who are working for the party? I'll put it that way, that they've got to start winnowing out these candidates, because if they don't win them out, you're going to be looking at, a split, and Trump's got it. And what our analysts are saying is that if he gets the nomination, they're likely to lose the House and the Senate, which would make it an empty victory.
I mean, that's a great point. One of the arguments against another Trump administration, if you will, that I've been hearing a lot lately, is essentially he has to overcome the fact that if he does win not only the nomination but the White House again, reclaims the White House, he has to deal with the fact that he immediately becomes a lame duck president. He can only serve another term, one more term. So that's something you've been hearing these early states, especially. Also, Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, just said yesterday that he's also someone who's considering a race. But he just said yesterday that if by November of this year, if candidates are not getting that much movement in polls.
Yeah, like they're stuck down at 2, 3, 4, 5%.
Right, when you see a lot of the massive.
That's where a lot of them are.
A lot of the field is right there.
Yeah.
If they don't get anything higher, they should bow out. So there is not this 2016 sort of a pileup
phenomenon,
if you will.
right? Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, so the RNC has laid out some of the criteria for the debates. One is that you have to support the eventual nominee. Are there others that are more controversial?
Yeah, I just there's one specifically that it says that one of the points of the criteria is that candidates have to have at least 40,000 donors That could be like $1 donors, but still they have to have 40,000 donors. And they also have to have at least 1% in national polls recognized by the RNC. Asa Hutchinson, someone who has been hovering in single digits, has put out a statement criticizing the criteria because it says it may block out some important voices on the debate stage.
Well, it's certainly going to knock some people out of the box. Fin Gómez, thanks for the download for this week.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep. See ya. Thanks.